In this episode, let's discuss the proper and most successful use of a sling used with a sit-to-stand lift owned by many IBMers. It's been a subject of discussion that I've received from various IBMers contemplating the purchase of either a sit-to-stand lift or may already own one. As you all know, I've been an owner of a sit-to-stand lift for almost 3 years now, and I successfully use it at least 4 times a day. I will also try to address some potential users' fears that they will fall out of the sling and sit-to-stand lift. The around-the-torso sling used with my sit-to-stand lift is used to transfer me from point A to point B, or sometimes just used to reposition me when I've slid forward on the chair I'm sitting on. I also use the sit-to-stand lift to get in and out of my bed, onto my power chair, onto my shower chair, and use it to get on and off our master bathroom's toilet as well. An improper sequence of events, including the incorrect sit-to-stand lift setup or poor positioning of the sling around my body, can result in a dissatisfying experience, so I shall attempt to explain how I've successfully set up the sit-to-stand lift and how to adjust the sling to accomplish an easy, safe, and painless transfer, as well as show some other benefits that I get from using the sit-to-stand style lift. First of all, to answer some future questions about the model sit-to-stand lift that I purchased 3 years ago and will feature in this video, it's one made by Lumex, and it's the model LF2020 with a lift capacity of 400 pounds. Let's start with the adjustments required before using a sit-to-stand lift. There are 2 major adjustments that should be made before the first use and will not require additional adjustments if the same person is being lifted. Loosen the tightening knobs for the knee pad assembly and position the person's feet on the foot plate with their toes slightly to the front of the foot plate. Move the lift forward or backwards until the patient's lower legs are vertical. Now move the knee pad assembly until it rests the patient's knees. Tighten the 2 knobs to secure the knee pad in place. Next, loosen the hardware securing the knee pad to the lift and adjust the knee pad up or down until it is slightly below the middle of the knee. Tighten the 2 securement knobs to hold the knee pad in place. As this lift will probably be used for only one patient, the IBMer, additional tightening of the adjustment knob can be made with the large pliers to assure everything stays in position for a long period of time. My sit-to-stand has a corded pendant to operate the up and down direction of the lift. But before jumping the gun, let's discuss a little about the sling used with this type of lift. Make sure you select the correct size of sling for the person being lifted. Every sling manufacturer has its own size designations that should be referenced when selecting a sling. First of all, you'll notice 3 attaching loops on both ends of the sling. The 3 loops are designated for use by determining the position of the person being lifted. Use the longest loops on either end of the sling if the person is in the reclined position, like on top of a bed or on a recliner that doesn't operate when the power goes out. Use the middle loop positions if the patient is in a semi-reclined position, and the 3rd set of loops, or the shortest, can be used if the IBMer is in the full upright seated position. Just as there are variations in our disease called inclusion body myositis, the sling loops used in your case may vary according to your height. Let's turn our attention back to the lift, and you'll notice 4 sling attaching points on the end of the lift arm. The outside set of loop hooks is designed for taller individuals, and the 2nd set of loop hooks can be used for shorter individuals being lifted. There is a 3rd set of loop hooks closer to the lift arm pivot, but we will talk about their use later in this video. Since I'm 6'2", I'll be utilizing the outside set of loop hooks in the demonstrations in this video. Let's visualize being lifted from our power chair with the intention of being moved onto our recliner. First, make sure the recliner is in the down position. The caregiver should position the sling behind the seated patient with the 2 red pads under the arms. Cross the internal padded belt over the patient's lower chest and stomach area and secure it with a snap buckle belt. After snapping the buckle, Tighten the internal belt so that the sling is snug. Next, pull the two sling flaps to the front of the patient and thread the two loop straps through the long black safety strap. The caregiver should then spread the legs of the lift and straddle the power chair and may have to assist an advanced IBMer lift his legs on top of the footplate. When the knee rest is against the patient's knees, the caregiver needs to turn the lift power to the on position so that the lift arm can be lowered to reach the appropriate loops on the sling. Attach the sling loops to the hooks on the lift arm. Make sure to connect the same loop from both sides of the sling onto the same hooks on the lift arm. The caregiver can now proceed to raise the lift arm by pressing the up button on the control pendant. When the lift is started, it's important that the patient lean back as far as possible into the sling. This will assure that the patient will be lifted in a comfortable arc, lessening any unnecessary stress on the upper legs and shoulders. So, where does the fear in some people come from that using a sit-to-stand lift will hurt or cause pain in the shoulder area? In my humble opinion, the only way a lift can be painful to the shoulder area is if the patient allows his upper body to lean forward where the sling might be pulled directly up and into the shoulder area. As I explained, a simple leaning back with your head and upper torso allows a gentler lift arc of the body from the seated position. For those of you that need a visual of this, compare these two lifts, the video on the left showing the consequences of leaning forward and the video on the right showing a much smoother lift when leaning back into the sling when being lifted. Are you aware that a butt sling can be used in conjunction with a standard lift sling? This may be an option for anyone who just doesn't feel comfortable being lifted to a standing position only using a standard sling. The butt sling can be attached to a third set of hooks towards the front of the lift arm or to the unused hooks on the lift arm. This butt sling is one of the many types of slings that can be used with a sit-to-stand lift. For advanced stage IBMers, a full body toileting sling can be used, and there are even special slings designed to help your caregiver roll you over in bed. Is it true that it would be almost impossible to fall out of a sit-to-stand lift when properly using the recommended sling and lift? Yes, that seems to be true, and although I didn't want to injure myself, I did try various things that could cause a departure from a planned lift, ascent, or descent when using a sit-to-stand lift. I realized that as long as your legs stay captured within the confines of the knee rest, there isn't an easy way to cause a failed lift. After being lifted, I even tried to lean my whole body forward, but the well-placed safety strap kept me from any dangerous forward movement. Anyone who is in the advanced stage of IBM and also use a power chair and a ramp van to add to their overall mobility should remember that your sit-to-stand lift can most likely be loaded into your van to be used elsewhere other than in your home, as I showed in my 63rd episode, and in the 79th episode, Cindy and my grandson are featured in a video that show you how to pick a person up off the floor using a sit-to-stand lift. Watch those two videos for additional information. Please share this video with your caregivers and friends, and don't forget to give that thumbs up button, subscribe button, and notification bell a press to join over 1,300 IBM and caregiver subscribers of this channel. You'll be glad you did.